Hey everybody! Today we're going to be talking about an introduction to rhetorical situations and appeals, or, as you can also title this lesson, where and when people say or write things and how and why they say them. In order to define a rhetorical situation, you need to also understand its three major components. Basically, any rhetorical situation can be broken down into audience, purpose, and genre. Audience is, of course, the intended group of people that a particular text or conversation is created for. The purpose of any particular text is just the author's reason for writing. What are they trying to communicate with this content? And finally, genre can be a little bit more complicated to understand. Rhetoricians define genre in a variety of different ways, but for the purposes of this class, you can think of genre as a form of writing that is created because particular discourse communities, people who talk about a particular subject over and over and over again, eventually come to expect conversations about that subject in a particular format. Understanding a rhetorical situation as a concept can be pretty important when you're approaching an academic text or conversation because it helps you not only understand the content of that particular text, but also enables you to answer questions like who is the author, who participates in this larger conversation, what is the heart of the topic, what is the writer's exigence, when did this conversation take place? Where did this conversation take place? Where can the conversation be found? And also, how can it be accessed by members of that particular discourse community? As well as, why is the writer entering this larger conversation? Why did they write this in the first place? Why is this conversation important? And if you're still not convinced, remember that each of you as members of this class is going to be asked through all of your different writing projects to act as an author or a writer yourself. And in order for any message to be effectively communicated through your writing projects, you'll first need to demonstrate an awareness of your target audience. You'll need to know the answers to questions like, what is my audience's expectations? What are their values? What are their beliefs? What are they looking for in order to accept new information and be persuaded by that information in my own writing? As an example, there's a YouTube video linked in blue here where a neuroscientist explains the fairly complicated concept of connectomes to first a 5-year-old, a 13-year-old, an undergraduate student, a graduate student, and finally a professional in the field of neuroscience. So go ahead and watch the first few minutes of that YouTube video and then tune into the next slide while we break it down. Hello, welcome back. How was the video? Did you enjoy it? Good, great. So you might still be wondering, okay, so what's the big deal? But what I want you to notice is how Dr. Kasturi anticipates the level of expertise, or in some cases, the lack of expertise that each audience member has. For instance, there is a big difference in the way that he speaks to 5-year-old Daniel, who is absolutely precious, and the way he speaks to the entrepreneur, Russell Hanson. Some things that you might have noticed was the difference in body language, tone, the word choice that he uses with each participant. Even his sentence structure becomes more complicated the more advanced the knowledge base of the audience member is. He also asks a good deal of clarifying questions to some of the younger participants, and he also uses plenty of examples. And all of these elements are examples of rhetorical appeals. These are tools and strategies that you can use in order to appeal to different audience members. Ultimately, you want to meet your audience where they are. In part 2 of this lecture series, we're going to define and look at some examples of 3 particular rhetorical appeals that you can use not only in this class, but anytime you approach writing a text or composing another rhetorical situation. So if you want, go ahead, take a break, get ready to take some notes, and then tune in to part 2.